Very much, Presiding Officer. Presiding Officer, I support this report, and as one of the committee members, I found the inquiry to be both saddening but also fascinating. I've got no direct link at all to the art school, so I looked at the evidence from a purely dispassionate position. I do have some family links, but they are quite distant in the family tree. Now, I am aware of constituents who are genuinely saddened by the two fires, and they want the art school to be rebuilt. There is the understanding and the appreciation, however, that this will not be an easy task to achieve. Now, like colleagues, I want to highlight and also stress the point that the Fire Service Investigation Report hasn't yet been published, and any suggestions of people claiming that they know what happened should be treated with some scepticism. Now, on the report itself, now, the timeline on page 7 for me was actually very important. It provided just a simple and quick-to-read background history of the last 20 years or so regarding the Glasgow School of Art. But for many people, there will be the anger that second fire happened, particularly so soon after the first. There will also be the anger at the quantum invested by the many donors and also organisations, only to see it go up in smoke. Now, people clearly want the Glasgow School of Art to be rebuilt, but they also want it to be safeguarded for the future. There's something that clearly that didn't happen after the first fire. Now, this is where the conclusions in paragraphs 24 and 25 of our report, in my opinion, are very important. Now, if we as a committee consider the evidence supplied by the board to be robust, I'm sure that our conclusions and recommendations would have been somewhat different. Also, our recommendations at the end of paragraph 53 concerns the compartmentation. The convener spoke of this issue in her contribution earlier on, and others have touched upon it too. Now, our conclusions and recommendations at the end of paragraphs 53 and also 63 are therefore really crucial, in my opinion, going forward. Now, clearly our committee has been hugely concerned about what happened at the School of Art. So protecting historic buildings for the future is vital. Now, our recommendation regarding Historic Environment Scotland and also the updated guidance is very welcome in this regard, and I genuinely appreciate the Scottish Government's response to this particular recommendation. Now, our final recommendation regarding the public inquiry is something that I wholeheartedly support. And colleagues from across the chamber have touched upon the public inquiry already. Now, I'm not an MSP who just calls for public inquiries at a whim, because they are expensive, they take a lot of time. But on this particular occasion, I believe that it's important that a public inquiry does take place. I'm sure after any type of public inquiry, I'm sure it will provide further clarity on past events, but also provide really important recommendations for the future. Now, every member in this chamber today will be able to point to buildings in their constituency or region that they believe have cultural significance in their particular parts of the country. Now, we will all understand the damage it will cause to the cultural offer as well as to the significant landmarks of our parts of the country. Now, this is why I believe that the public inquiry is absolutely crucial. Now, I know how damaging it would be for my area that if we were to lose one or more of our really important buildings. And so I appreciate the anger and the frustrations that people have about the Glasgow School of Art in Garnet Hill. But for me, the one saving grace about these terrible events is that nobody lost their lives. Now, many people have had their lives hugely affected, local residents, businesses and students, and that's also been touched upon by colleagues already today. And it really is important that we thank these individuals for their patience, their perseverance, but also their determination to progress with their lives. But genuinely, and I say this to every single member, thankfully nobody actually lost their lives as a consequence of the speedy response of the fire service. I'm saying also this report is something I have been pleased to be a part of, but I would much rather that our committee didn't actually do this type of report and do this type of work. I would much rather we actually did something that was more positive. But it became apparent that after 2 fires in 4 years, we really had no choice, that we had to do this particular piece of work. Now, out of the sadness and the frustrations and the anger, I hope that this report actually helps prevent another fire, either at the School of Art or a fire in any other building of historical and cultural significance in Scotland. Members mentioned the fire alarm system, and I couldn't agree more with her comments around this. I mean, the lack of clarity as to whether the system was on or off is just ridiculous, to be brutally honest. I also believe, like Polly McNeill, there was a complete lack of leadership at the college. But I commend this report, and I genuinely hope that we as a parliament, and we certainly as a committee, never need to undertake this type of inquiry again. Because I would rather we did actually have a more positive focus as compared to looking at what clearly has been an absolute disaster for the Glasgow School of Art. Thank you very much.